Hi there. Today we're going to look at busting some myths around resilience. The first of these myths is that resilience is about being tough. The second is that resilience is about being in control. And the third is that you need confidence in order to be resilient. So let's start with what being resilient is. Resilience is about being adaptable to change regardless of the situation that you're in and feeling confident that you can thrive and that you can learn. It is not just about bouncing back from difficult situations, and it is not about just being able to power through when things are going tough. So the first one of these myths that we're going to bust in this short video is that resilience is about being tough. Being strong is an outcome of resilience, but being tough is about being brittle, which is the opposite of being adaptable and flexible. Look at this list. How many of these might you say to yourself? I'm feeling stressed, I don't like to show it. I'll often tell people I'm fine, even if I'm not. I don't want to show my vulnerability. I don't want to let people know that I don't know the answer. Or, oh, I'm so stupid for not knowing. Or I'll only speak up if I'm absolutely certain I know the answer. Or I want people to know that I'm okay all of the time, even if I'm not. A lot of the statements here might be driven by our desire to show that we are capable of meeting our own and others' expectations, and this could come from learned values from childhood, or the culture that exists within our team at work. Think about it. How many of us don't want to show our weaknesses? We don't like to lose. We don't like to be wrong. We don't like to be out of control. We don't like to give up or feel powerless. Maybe we don't want to show that we don't know. We don't want to be regarded as soft or emotional. When we look at those attributes, often the opposites of these are the ones that we strive towards, such as being strong, winning, being right, being in control, not giving up, showing that we know, or sometimes being hard and unemotional. Take a few moments and think about which ones of these attributes are drivers for you. Of course, when we aim to always be strong or be right or be in control, that's exhausting, and that will lead us to burnout. Instead, a more helpful way of being that builds our resilience is to look at some of the things that we can do, which means that we gain strength but don't become tough and brittle. These might be things like having self-acceptance, being able to listen to others and recognize that there is not only one right solution, being able to learn instead of having to win, taking responsibility and accountability for things that are important but letting go of the rest, experimenting and learning with openness and curiosity, or being flexible in your approach and recognizing that there may not be one right solution. You may have to take a different path instead of keeping going or giving up. Take a couple of moments now, pause the video if you like, and write down a couple of those statements that mean the most to you. Which ones would you like to adopt more that will help you to become more resilient? Okay, let's move on to myth number 2, that resilience is about being in control. Now, this might feel like a choice between being in control or being out of control. I mean, how many of us would like to be perceived as being out of control? Here's a question for you. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much of a control freak are you? Where 1 is, I'm not a control freak at all and I'm really laid back, and 10 is, I'm a super duper control freak. Okay, got that number in your head? Now think about, on a scale of 1 to 10, how stressed are you? Where 1 is, I'm not stressed at all, and 10 is, I'm completely stressed and I can't carry on and I can't cope and I can't take on anymore. How aligned are those two numbers for you? Of course, these two questions are quite light-hearted. However, they may highlight a link between how stressed you are and how much control you perceive that you need. Most of us want to be in control at least some of the time, and this isn't always such a bad thing. If we think about being in control of finances, or being in control of managing risks, or being able to determine who has access to specific data and information and who doesn't. In these instances, a level of control, of course, is important, but what we may not realise is that a desire for control is all around us and it goes by sometimes unnoticed. Research tells us that resilience is a measure of how safe we feel. And of course, having more control helps us to feel safe. However, it can be a bit of a vicious circle. If we don't feel that we're in control, we then work even harder to regain control, and working really, really hard causes us more stress. So for example, if you and your team are working together, but you feel that you need to have all the information that your team does, that's going, you're going to try to regain all of that control and knowledge, and that's going to put you under pressure. You may be familiar with the circle of influence and the circle of concern. Things in your circle of influence are just that, things that you can directly influence. Things in your circle of concern are outside of your influence, but you might still care about them. Putting energy into the things that within your circle of concern diminishes the focus that you may have for things that are in your circle of influence. In this activity, draw out the circle of influence and the circle of concern. And in those two circles, capture the things that you can influence and those that you can't, but that you still care about. Consider how much time you spend in each of those circles. You can choose to do this precisely in minutes, you can choose to do it in hours or even days. But the most important thing is, be honest. Where are you spending your energy? How much time do you spend on things in the circle of concern, and how much time do you spend on things in the circle of influence? What insights do you gain from looking at how much time you spend in each? Then ask yourself, what areas of my circle of influence would it be better for me to spend my time on? And what areas in my circle of concern are draining my energies that I could potentially drop? Start small if you need to, of course, but what we suggest is commit to just one thing. Okay. We're at the last myth, and this myth is that we need confidence in order to feel resilient. Well, confidence comes from resilience, and resilience comes from confidence. In fact, both are inputs and both are outputs. Here's an activity for you. Think about a time when you faced into a really big challenge. Perhaps it was something you have never done before. Perhaps it was something where it was important for you to deliver the very best outcome. Or maybe you were simply nervous about doing it. Your confidence along the way was probably varied. Sometimes you felt good, and other times you may have felt nervous, and perhaps your confidence was knocked along the way. It was a big challenge, and you kept going anyway, and you achieved the outcome that you aimed for. This achievement in itself helped you build your levels of resilience. So take a few moments to write some notes about this big challenge. What was it? What did you find easy? What was difficult? How did you overcome the barriers along the way? How did you feel at the time, and how did you feel at the end when you had achieved what you set out to do? Now, not all of us, including me, have run a marathon or climbed a mountain, but at some stage we'll have all overcome hurdles. What builds your resilience is recognizing these as achievements and also building safety in the knowledge that you've overcome challenges, which means that you can do it again. Another way to build our confidence and resilience is to look out for what we call our secure bases. These are people, places, events, and activities that provide you with a sense of security and inspiration. And that could be, for example, playing music or playing a musical instrument, participating in a sport you enjoy, getting engrossed in an activity that you love, or being in a place that you like to visit, or those friends and family and colleagues that you like to spend time around. Take a few moments now to write down your secure bases. How often do you invest in these? How could you draw on these even more? Noting down achievements and tapping into our secure bases helps us to build our resilience even more. So we've covered the 3 myths. Which ones of these have resonated with you the most? If you've completed all of the activities along the way, you will probably have identified a number of things that you will want to do in order to build your resilience. But also think about where you are now. So if you're currently feeling stressed and overwhelmed, it's not a good idea to try to add to your to-do list. Instead, maybe think about what you need to let go of in order to create the space to focus on one of the actions that you've identified for yourself. I hope you found the content of this video useful and insightful. For more information on resilience, please check out the other videos and resources available on the Academy. Thank you.